Suicide is one of those things we don't like to talk about. It's ugly and it's terrifying. The idea that someone we know could have their lives snuffed out so easily by their own hands is an unpleasant one, but we must keep in mind that it can happen, and it does happen every day. As written by the World Health Organization, about 800,000 people kill themselves each year, with that being the equivalent to one person assigned to end their life every 40 seconds. And that doesn't include the amount of people who attempt suicide, but end up being unsuccessful in their attempts. It's an uncomfortable fact to face. To some people, it's downright macabre. But we need to acknowledge the fact that suicide is a relatively common cause of death for many people. The sooner we acknowledge this, the sooner we can help. Because when we get down to it, I don't think people want to die. They want help. I could be wrong. But speaking from personal experiences, suicide is less a desire for death, and more a desire to make things stop, be it pain, fear, loneliness, or even anger. Most people just want some silence, and the ending of one's life is a way to achieve such silence, albeit in the worst way possible. Before I continue, I should mention that you can't blame those who decide to commit suicide. For one, it's impossible to change what happened to them, and blaming them probably won't bring any relief to their loved ones. Secondly, I don't think they meant to hurt those around them. Like I said, they just want to stop experiencing what they're going through at that moment. According to Aaliyah E. Dastiger of USA Today, suicide is the nation's 10th leading cause of death, though that rate alone belies the scope of the problem. While thousands of people die by suicide each year, millions think about it. And it may be difficult to consider, but chances are you, the individual watching this video, probably knows or has known someone who has at least had suicidal ideations. It could be someone you're intimately familiar with, or someone you just pass on the street. Reading what the CDC says, from the years 2007 and 2018, the national suicide rate among persons aged 10 to 24 increased 57.4%. The increase was broad, as it was experienced by the majority of states. The idea that suicide rates can increase is a terrifying one. In the countless years humans have been on this planet, I'm willing to bet there's not been a single year where no one has committed suicide. So the idea that we can continue to see this public health crisis and that it seems to be continually getting worse is terrifying and quite frankly frustrating. But then, if some sources are to be believed, the COVID-19 pandemic happened, and something changed. Some statistics from the CDC state that suicides in the United States actually went down nearly 6% last year. However, one has to wonder if the percentage of suicides going down is truly indicative of continuing trends. Sure, as Dr. Leela R. McGavey says, people are understanding the value of mindfulness. Once individuals identify how life is more simple and beautiful with mindfulness, and periods of silent meditation, it can create a pattern of healthy behavior. But I have a feeling that may not be the entire picture. In the article, U.S. suicide declined overall in 2020 but may have risen among people of color, written for the New York Times by Ronnie Karen Rabin, and the author suggests that while suicide rates may have been on the decline for those who are white, it may have actually increased for people of color. As the author says, suicide rates will usually fall down during times of war or natural disasters, when people feel drawn together to fight for survival against a common enemy. But the effect can peter out over time, and fatigue and despair may follow, experts say. And while for white people the past year may have been looked back upon as mainly just seen as the year of the pandemic, to many people of color it is also seen as a year where their rights were trampled upon. The death of George Floyd and many other people of color at the hands of authorities can be just as traumatic as losing a loved one to a pandemic. According to the article, researchers who study racial trends say increases in suicide among people of color were consistent across the cities and the regions they examined. And all the more striking because suicide rates among Black and Hispanic Americans has always been comparatively low, about 1/3 the rate among white Americans. And as much as I wish I could say that suicide rates were going down or going to continue going down, I just can't. Seriously, I deeply wish I could. But it's irresponsible to plug your ears and pretend that the COVID-19 pandemic was a blessing in disguise, at least in regards to suicide rates. I'm no doctor or psychiatrist, but the only thing I can say is that we should be kind to each other. Talk to people. Let them know you're there for them. Thanks for watching.